professor, physician, epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello, I am Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walton University. And in this video, I'm going to go over policy mapping. And I'm going to show this to you in two parts. So in the first part, I'm going to show you a policy map distribution. So say you have a policy. It's important to know which states have enacted what parts of the policy and how they've done that. And then it's important to know what is going on the ground to see the real effect of that policy that is implemented. So let me go ahead and get started. Let's maneuver. Let's take a moment to maneuver through this interface. There's some interesting parts to this. First of all, this is a nice sort of website, web page where you can brainstorm about specific topics. There's quite a few topics that you can be thinking about. But what we're going to be focusing on, the focus of this talk is looking at environmental health related policy mapping. So typically when we're thinking about public health, you think of many different things. You think of chronic disease, maybe. You might even think about substance use, even oral health, mental health and mental disorders. But it takes a bit of creativity and understanding about environmental health topics to be able to understand maybe some potential impacts. So I'm going to use specifically the topic area that I'm using is the area of lead. I've given various talks over the years on the subject of lead poisoning, exposure to lead from lead paint. Every house before 1978 is suspect for lead because it was still legal to be using it, and there was no real mandated reporting or anything. So I'm interested in that, even leaded gasoline. So that will be the focus for today. So looking at now just housing specifically, because I told you, and this is going to be something to do with housing. So housing is something good to look at. Maybe there's something in lead. But I'm going through the process of how you would be looking for something like lead. So housing is good, but I'm more interested in this menu item. So that is environmental health. So if we take a look at under environmental health, disclosure of environmental conditions, this is something that may be of interest to us. So I'm just going to select this. If not, no big deal. We can go back at any time. Great. So let's take a look at what shows up in the policy surveillance program. So again, this and now let me take a brief moment to give you a description of this. This is actually a group out of Temple University that I have spent some time talking with on numerous occasions about not only planning proper sort of policy considerations, but here are a group of lawyers, good-hearted lawyers that are working tirelessly to typify some of these public health conditions and understand from a legal perspective what that means. So I wanted to give a quick plug for the group that is responsible for this. I even contribute some to the lead portion of this, so I was in dialogue about that. So this is another reason why I'm interested in this specific map, and so when I'm describing this to you, I'm going to be sharing some insights, expert insights about this policy map. So looking now at how we can make this map so that you can hone in on states that have um, maybe more relaxed regulations. So this is a good way to kind of um, conduct policy analyses. And that is that you can look at states and differential policy within the states and then look at the outcomes that are available for those states. That is the process that we're going to be using here. So this is one map we're looking at, and then we're going to be shifting over to another map and another place. Um, so lead, where's lead? Right here. But we're interested in, first of all, let's make this the most stringent and then the most relaxed. So let's go through these questions and answer them. Does the state law require, now we're talking about state federally, this is different, but does the state law require a specific environmental condition disclosure form? Is the answer yes or no? So let's go for the most stringent, yes. And then has a state real estate board developed a form requiring. So the more reporting, the more overlap, the more we can make sure that, because there are houses out there with lead paint, and so what happens, oftentimes children take the chippings from the paint and may ingest that, and so reporting this is crucial and extremely important. So state real estate board, yes. So if first of all, it's interesting to look at the number of states that start to go down. So when we, first of all, we had all 50 states, right? But when we start to look at regulations, the first one, already a handful of states, 9 states have been eliminated. So now, if we make it even more stringent, both yes, then there's a handful of states that this has not taken place for yet. So this is interesting. But we want to make sure that we're actually narrowing down. So this is for probably most of these, but we're narrowing this down to lead paint. So that then changes the states that are highlighted, and then you can go back here and kind of change these. So it's kind of an iterative process. You don't necessarily answer the questions 1, 2, 3. You might want to go back and change these. So then if we were to change this to most relaxed, this is what I'm going to say. So if 1 says no, and take a look at the filters up above, if 1 says no and 2 says no, then there's only one state that is selected at the end, and that is Alabama. So that tells me that for Alabama, there is no state law that requires specific environmental condition disclosure form or real estate board developing a form. So then you can go to a mapping software and draw a quick map, or even compare to a map that is available to see if there's any sort of real impact in outcomes. And this could be in the way of achievement scores. Maybe in Alabama, the achievement scores are lower than in other states. Or it could be in the form of housing insecurity, or the percentage of living wages that are used to cover housing. These are all important measures, and I think worth our while exploring. So this is the new map viewer, and we can add layer here. I always like to use the living atlas, and then the county health rankings. And I've done this a number of times in other videos, so I'm not going to go over too much detail as to how I'm making this, but you can kind of pause and take a look. I use the county health rankings, and then typically with the base map, I change the base map to a darker color so that the colors within the map are able to show better than usual. And then, of course, change this around to county and make sure that this is showing what we want it to show. It's in the year 2020, and we're trying to change this to county, and then the attributes need to change. We're looking for potentially math achievement scores, and so here's the math scores right here. Let's select add, remove. Let's wait for it to process. Right now what's on display is life expectancy from 2020, and just from a quick look, Alabama has lower life expectancy, Alabama and Mississippi, than other places. And so that alone, you can make an observation right there and tell us that the lead disclosure may be associated with the lower life expectancy. So that's one way to do it. Another way that you can do this is just looking at math scores and take a look if there's any sort of and take a look at the legend, what it means, and see if any sort of patterns emerge. So one pattern that we've already talked about, just to reiterate and summarize this, is that the association between lead policy and life expectancy. And of course, there's no way definitively to ensure that there's no other confounding variables or other variables that are potentially causing this, but this is something that is important to note. So there's other ways to currently this life expectancy one is the only one that is showing. So here I shifted over and generated a math achievement score. This is from, just to make a note, from the year 2021. So taking a look at this, some of the achievement scores, we can zoom in on Alabama and take a look and quickly see in areas in the whole state that there's lower math achievement scores. So here's another connection. So not only are we saying lead paint potentially policies associated with life expectancy, but we're also saying that achievement scores are affected potentially by lead poisoning. And this is something that is not too far-fetched to be thinking about a connection with, because then these models can you can explore these further and see definitively, statistically speaking, which I've talked using MGWR or some sort of geographically weighted regression to try to understand if there's a connection. But that's beyond the scope of this video. This is only looking at policy level connections with educational and health outcomes. Thank you for listening.